So I am holding here in my hand an example of one of my thrifting bucket list items. Items I consider bucket list, things that are on my bucket list are things that are kind of like my wish list of things that I'd like to find out in the wild while thrifting. So these are items that I feel like are possible to find. They're not some crazy pie in the sky. There was only 1 or 10 of the things made and someone found one and sold one, like the Lucky in Love Pyrex. Like, you know, the chances of me ever finding one of those are almost nothing. So my idea of a bucket list item is something that's doable, that could be found, that are just a little bit harder to find. And I have been thrifting for 15 years or more, and I have not found it yet. So why do I say that this is a bucket list item if I have one in my hand? Well, first off, I didn't find it. My husband found it. And so in my view, that does not count. We may be one flesh and joined in holy matrimony and all that, but he found this while I was not even with him. He was at an estate sale and picked this up. So even though I'm happy to have it, and it's been packed away since our last move, but we are just hanging on to this one for now. I will pop up a value on this one up here, but a couple things. This is a newer pepper mill by Dansk, and it has the mark, or like it has a sticker for Dansk. It says Dansk Designs Limited, and it's made in Thailand. So it's not even made in Denmark. And I would just really love to find a real mid-century modern teak wood or walnut pepper mill. And anyway, we're gonna switch over to my camera view. We're gonna take a look at some examples, some more examples to help you figure out or kind of hone your eye as what to be looking for with a pepper mill, from the kind that I'm looking for, the type that I'm looking for. And then I've got, besides these, I've got 9 more items or brands that I just would love to find out in the wild. But before we switch over to that, please feel free to like this video if you see something along the way that you like. And then also leave a comment below. What are your bucket list items? Maybe reading through the comments, I'll see something that will now become my bucket list item as well. So, you know, it was kind of hard at first. There's a few that popped to mind immediately when I was thinking of putting this video together. And then there were some that were like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot I was looking for those things. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze again. So let's switch over. Leave your comment below and let's switch over to my computer. Okay, so I started off talking about pepper mills, and we're just going to keep going with that. I went ahead and did Dansk first as my first search because it is really one of the bigger names in these types of pepper mills. So as you can see, the shapes are all a little bit different, and I think that's why they appeal to collectors so much, is because you can have a shelf full of just this amazing collection of different shaped pepper mills. And you can see the prices on some of these. These are rare. These particular shapes are a little bit more rare. The one I have obviously is not worth anything near that. But yeah, just very unique shapes, very mid-century looking Danish modern styles. And another interesting thing is, or that you can make note of, is if the pepper grinder, the mechanism is made by Peugeot, then that's a plus in its favor. So you might see that word right here, Peugeot. Some more shapes that just look very mid-century. Nice hourglass one for $300. So I don't know. I mean, obviously I see maybe this shape a little bit more often, not by Dansk, but just by other companies that are vintage, but lots of different shapes. This one I have is kind of like the one I have, but it has the loop on the top. I have seen different resellers and people that I follow in the mid-century community find that one not super often, but it was definitely one I would notice right away. Anyway, just giving you an idea of some of the prices as we get down here. This one I've seen before too from other people. There's that loop one. So here's the one that we have. It has a paper label on it still. And see, that's the difference. Ours is not marked Peugeot at all. And theirs might even be made in Denmark. So ours is just a newer version of it. I would have to look that up. So I had, I had said in the intro that I was going to put comps for that. So there's another one. See, Denmark, $150. So ours will be less than that. But just to give you an idea, it's interesting. I would think, it's possible it could go either way. Like at an estate sale, I remember seeing an ad for an estate sale where they had a bunch of peppermills showing in the picture, and I didn't go to it. I don't even remember the situation, but I just figure the estate sale company either is going to know or someone else who sees these pictures are going to know. So I feel almost that you have to kind of just see, something at the moment at a thrift store, kind of like, or an estate sale. I don't remember. My husband paid 10 or 20 or something like that for that, he said. And, I think, something like this, like these might not get on anybody's radar, but something odd like this. So either it'll get priced low because people think it's odd and ugly, or it'll make them stop and look it up. So I don't know. My search continues. So if we switch over, those are our Dansk brand. If we switch over, I just did a search for teak peppermills without Dansk in the search. And we have this other one, Denmark, Peugeot. Okay. Doesn't say Dansk, but it's still the same designer for Dansk, so I don't know about that. Woodline on these. Lorid's Lundberg. Nissen, that's another name that comes up fairly often. So very, still kind of that same idea. Made in Denmark. Teak wood. A Peugeot, grinder or mechanism. This one is Denby, which is kind of interesting. That would be fun to find. Nissen. So now we're down in like the $45 range or so. And then here's some more like traditional. These are teak, but they're just traditional style. But anyway, yeah, just like little funky looking peppermills like that. So that's been on my list, probably the longest out of everything in this list that I'm going to share with you today. So next one has kind of been on my radar the last few years. I don't know if the price has really just gone up recently, but it's an item that I feel, not this one that's showing, that would be awesome to find too, Dorothy Thorpe. It's a candle holder that's lucite. But what I'm talking about are like these. These are lucite candlesticks with silver flakes inside. This one is clear with silver like confetti. Here's a couple green ones that sold for $75. There's a bunch of gold ones for $70, 2 red ones. So you get the idea. So these are lucite candlesticks. They're purely decorative. Obviously, you don't burn them because that would be like burning plastic. But they were kind of a mid-century thing that you would just, so you could decorate your table or your mantle or whatever, and you could have a candle there all the time and they wouldn't lose color. You wouldn't burn them and then have wax all over your candle holders and things like that. But because they're lucite, they're clear, and they could put things inside of them like the like the flecks or the confetti that's inside. So it just feels like one of those things. I've just kind of had my eyes open for them for a while. That seems like it might get overlooked at a yard sale or a thrift store or something like that. So I've seen other people find them, and everybody gets really excited in the thrifting groups. So that's just something that's kind of been on my list to find, and I haven't found it yet. Next one is a name you've probably heard, or an item that maybe you've seen if you've been thrifting and reselling for any length of time. And the brand is Catherine Holm. Catherine Holm was a factory. It was not a woman named Catherine Holm. It's Catherine Holm was the factory, and it's Norwegian. Now I'm sorting highest to lowest here in solds. So the pink obviously is more rare, because look at the numbers that the pink is going for. The pattern on this is called Lotus. And then up in the high numbers here are people selling like the entire nesting bowl sets. So here's another pink one. So some of the colors that are just a little more rare. The Lotus was also on like coffee pots, black and white, nice little set. So you get the idea of what, this looks like. It's enamel on metal. Now, as far as my experience with Catherine Holm Lotus, I will say this. I have sold it, but I did not find it in the wild. I bought it from another thrifter, dealer, reseller. I can't even remember what venue I bought it on, but they were selling it kind of in a group. And I basically just bought it, and then I split it up. I think it was just 2 pieces. I split it up and sold it separately. Mostly just to kind of say I had sold Catherine Holm Lotus, but also it pulls traffic. It was back when I had most of my vintage on Etsy, and it's just a name that kind of pulls traffic to your store. So I think I had a skillet and some other piece. So anyway, I will pop up some pictures of the ones that I sold, and you can see that, but I don't count that because I didn't find it in the wild. Now, I have found Catherine Holm in the wild, but I have not found the Lotus pattern. So it's just one of those weird things. I have found and sold many exciting things over the years, but I just kind of, there was a hype a few years back for this Lotus pattern, and I just got it in my head that I just wanted to come around the corner of the aisle at Goodwill one day and see like a stack of these bowls. It's happened to other people, so you just never know. But anyway, that's what I am looking for. So the pieces that I had found of Catherine Holm were kind of basic. They didn't have a pattern. They were just like a solid color. And I did read the designer for Catherine Holm, like she originally made everything plain, and I think like the factory or someone else added this Lotus decoration to it, and I don't think she was like a big fan of it, but that it became super, super popular. So there's fondue pots with it and everything. So anyway, that's another one that I personally keep my eye out for. Now, this next one is a more current one. It's probably just in the past couple of years that I've heard the buzz in the reselling groups. And the brand is called Fire and Light. And they were a company in California, and they opened in the 90s. And they used recycled glass. They wanted to use up some glass waste and turn it into something beautiful. So... nope, that was the next one. Teaser. Okay, so Fire and Light, they actually closed their doors in 2019. They had to shut down. And so that might have been right around when the prices of these and the talk about them got so big on in the reselling groups that I'm in. And again, it's just kind of glassware. I think people would be drawn to it at a thrift store, so people could buy it just because it's beautiful. And, for their own use, but, it might be something you could come across. So there's dinnerware, there's some different vases, some votives. I know there's like a little heart thing that's really popular. So from what I understand, most of Fire and Light is signed. Some of it maybe is not, but I know there are reselling groups and places that if I found a piece that was kind of this wavy recycled glass look and I couldn't see a signature, I might get it and then like ask in those groups to see if they could help identify it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. Lots of beautiful colors. And I think, yeah, probably the prices going up have a lot to do with the fact that you just can't get it anymore. So that's great. So the next one, same thing. If you're in any kind of reselling group in the past couple years, you've probably heard about Glassy Baby. Now, this is a company in Seattle, and they make these little votives. I think they had some other pieces like earlier on. I saw somebody talking about having drinking tumblers and things like that. The thing with them is that people like to support this company because it gives a lot to the community. It gives a lot of, it says your giving goes global. So proceeds from their company go to all different types of charities. So they have a foundation, and every time you purchase something, you're supporting this foundation. So the other thing which makes these super collectible is that they retire the colors and the patterns fairly often. And early on, I forgot the year. So as far as identifying them, because they just kind of look like something you totally would walk past at a thrift store. Just a votive. I think they're a little bit heftier and bigger than they look. But each, they're all hand blown by artists. They're not just generic dollar store type things. If you can see down here, this little mark, it's kind of like a, here we go. It looks like this is in that clear part on the bottom. And that's called a triskelion. And I think this is on the newer pieces. The pieces I've seen in reselling groups also, they might be considered pre-triskelion. Am I saying that right? Triskelion. And they'll say Glassy Baby imprinted like on the bottom. So that makes that super easy. So those are the two things you're looking for in these types of votives. But check out some of the prices for solds. People like to collect them. Okay. So here's a rare one, $900 from 2023, $800. So as you can see, there's just all sorts of different designs and colors. And I'm sure there's Glassy Baby groups on Facebook and different places where you can identify it. Sometimes people find them with the barcode, the stickers still on the bottom, which helps identify the color. Anyway, yeah, they don't all go for $600. You can go down further. But if I found a little votive and I could sell it for $200, I would be super happy, or even $100. I would be happy about that. And then you may find them also personalized. So companies would also purchase these and have their company name or have some kind of thing put on them and give them out as corporate gifts. So those I think do still sell just fine. But anyway, that one looks fairly large, but like it says, the pre-triskelion. Okay. Anyway, just different names. You could probably get help identifying them, like I said. But again, it's one of those things that I feel like people would walk past, and so I would have a chance to purchase one. Now, what's interesting is that this is a Seattle company. So in the reselling groups, the big talk of anytime somebody finds one, the first question people ask is, where are you located? Because, people on the East Coast are like, oh, I don't have a chance at all to find those. But over the past few years in these reselling groups, I've seen them all over the country. They're showing up everywhere. So
Yeah, people maybe in Seattle. I never found one in Seattle. I might not have been really looking for them at the time, but I have hope because a lot of people from Washington moved to Montana. So maybe they'll bring their Glassy Baby collection with them and it won't fit into the rustic look of Montana and they'll sell them at a yard sale or something. You never know. I will keep you updated. Okay, the next one is kind of random, but this is kind of amazing. So I always find myself drawn to all the pieces and accessories and parts and things that go to a sewing machine. And then they end up really not being worth anything and they're hard to sell. But there's a few like really obscure little accessories and pieces that are like worth crazy money. So right now there's only 2 of these listed, but these are the ones that have sold. Almost $2,000 for, it's called the Penguin Walking Presser Foot. And that one's got its box and its manual. Here's another one. So this is what the item looks like. It's kind of like, I guess it looks like a little penguin on its little foot. I don't know. I'm just hoping I would remember this when I see it. Someone sold the manual, the little manual, just for $100. So it looks like this little thing. So I've tried not to go overboard, you know, if I'm seeing all these like different random sewing machine parts and I'm like, you know, oh, I better buy them all just in case there's a walking presser foot in there. I don't want to get myself into that kind of situation, so I try to just look for it specifically. Okay, so might not hurt to at least take a look through the drawers of sewing cabinets and things like that. Okay, now here's another kind of random one. I've never found one of these. It is a baby blanket. So Baby Morgan is like the name you want to look for. It's a crib blanket. These are the new ones, sold for $300. Okay, but there's this kind of popular one with balloons. So this one's, well, it says it's brand new. They must have taken it out of its package. But the blanket is thermal. Okay. It's baby, here's vintage ones, Baby Morgan. They have the nylon binding or the satin trim, you could call it. These ones with balloons are really popular, and I think they're thermal. It's kind of like a waffle knit blanket. So I know baby blankets can be a whole nother subject, and but this is the main name that I've heard of as far as getting like amazing prices. So this balloon one obviously is very, very popular, even pre-owned. And blankets, you know, this crib blanket with this kind of waffle knit and nylon binding is something to take a closer look at if you are not used to looking at the blankets or the whatever at the thrift store. You just never know. Anyway, just thought I would share that. Okay, and then I'm going to just finish up today's video with 3 jewelry items on my bucket list. So first of all is the brand Shriner. Okay, so I remember when I first heard of Shriner and I thought, wow, that would be so amazing to find a piece of jewelry marked Shriner. And, you know, I thought it was more possible at first, but now I'm thinking maybe it might be pretty difficult. So kind of their famous one is called this ruffle brooch. It's got these long, you know, petals on it. Now these prices, not all ruffle brooches sell for this. Like this one's got this peeking glass down here. So there's some differences, you know, in the art glass will add to the value. But just Shriner jewelry in general, I think it would just catch your eye. I don't know. I just think if you have any experience with vintage jewelry at all, it would like jump out at you. Maybe unless it was just like super dirty or something like that. Again, this is like my garage sale hope someday. Or it's in some group of jewelry that I can find, you know. So it's just very distinct, you know, it's distinctive in the fact that it's very unusual. So if you deal with any kind of rhinestone jewelry, there's these high-priced ones. There's just something very different about the look of the Shriner jewelry. But it is super popular, so even if I go down over a few pages and go down to like the 300s, you know, here's some more examples. And as far as I know, they're signed. That might not be true. A lot of them are signed. It's a very, you know, it's an in-depth subject for research and study. There is a Shriner group on Facebook that can help you identify, but there are characteristics to possibly look for, and there are like confirmed Shriner pieces that you can like compare. Maybe your colorway is a little bit different, but it matches another piece that's confirmed, and so that's one way to confirm it. So yeah, anytime you have some rhinestone jewelry that just looks a little different or a little more special, it's worth a shot to just, you know, do a little bit more research with it. Okay. So anyway, Shriner is the name that you'd be looking for on jewelry. And then this would be so amazing. This is Art Deco jewelry. The jewelry is called Pools of Light. Now, it can be earrings or things, but the necklace, I think, is what's like crazy stunning. So it's clear rock, it's rock crystal. These orbs are rock crystal, so they're super, super clear. And usually, I'm pretty sure it would be sterling, right, that goes around it. Now, one of the things you notice about these orbs is that they do not, you know, sometimes you might see jewelry that has like big beads like that, and it might be clear glass or something like that. But a lot of times they're bored all the way through, and the chain or the thread goes all the way through the bead. So that is not pools of light. The real pools of light, it's rock crystal. So they wrap, as you can see the little marks here, they wrap the sterling wire or chain or whatever around it, and that's what holds it. So just look at the prices on those. It's just so pretty. I just would love to find it just because I think it's gorgeous, right? You see how it's wrapped around the round balls. And so here's like one that's just a pendant. And I think my search is showing just necklaces. But, you know, and some of them don't have as many orbs. It's a shorter chain. Some of those ones at the top were the really long ones, like flapper era necklaces. Here's one single one. I wouldn't mind finding just one like that. That would be cool. Here's one that's got 3. That's really cool. Anyway, pools of light. It's on my jewelry bucket list. And the last one is a designer, George Jensen. And I decided to just talk about his jewelry. He was a silversmith. And so there'll be lots of different things. You know, he did hollowware and flatware and different things. And jewelry. And so a lot of it is very modernist looking. You know, obviously the pieces that have gold and everything are going to be what drives the price up. But he did a lot of sterling as well. And the modernist pieces can go for good money. You can see that. So that's 14 karat gold, very modernist looking circle, just the pendant. But I really do like his modernist looking stuff. Look at that ring. Anyway, I would also be happy finding some George Jensen sterling flatware. I have found stainless. I have a, what is it? I have a gravy, it's like a gravy ladle or something like that in sterling. And it's the weirdest thing. It's George Gents, not in sterling, in stainless. And it's the weirdest thing. I think I still have it. Like, it's the hardest thing ever to sell. It's almost like people who want George Jensen only want his sterling stuff. So I was happy I found a piece that was George Jensen, and it was, you know, kind of modernist looking, and it was flatware, but it was stainless, and it's been really, really difficult to sell. So I don't know if I have it currently listed or not, but I'll have to look into that. So this just gives you an idea. So that's my last item. That was 10 items that I have on my thrifting bucket list.
So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and leave a comment below. Are those items that were on your bucket list? Had you heard of those items? What's on your personal bucket list? I also would like to do a video. See, this was all mostly either vintage or hard goods. And I do have kind of a separate mental bucket list of clothing, either items or brands that I'm still on the lookout for and haven't found yet. And then there's a whole nother category of bucket list items where I actually technically found the item on my bucket list, but I either want to find it again, like it's just because I found it didn't knock it off my bucket list, or items that I found, but you know, they were like before I knew better, or they were just not the best example of the bucket list item, but they technically count as finding, you know, something by that person or whatever, or brand. So I might do a couple more videos with that. I'll definitely do a clothing one for sure. But okay, everybody, I'm going to get going, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the What Solds. And hope you have a wonderful reselling week, and we will talk to you soon.